Hey, welcome back to Tiny House and Off-Grid Resources, and welcome back to another episode in The Naked Blacksmith, where I become a blacksmith with no tools, no clues, and absolutely no experience. So, in last week's episode, I made these two hammer handles from the same piece of wood. One's oiled, one's not, hence the difference. But they're both made out of a piece of old Quila decking, which I've since found out was about 40 years old. After spending the day making these two lovely hammers, I decided to produce this kit set for one lucky customer. Everything's there, but some assembly is required. Today I'm going to be making an interesting pair of fire tongs out of these two pieces of 25 by 5 flat. That's 1 inch by 1/4 inch for those of you who live in the States and don't use the same measurements as the rest of the world. I've cut them both to 350mm. That's about 14 inches, and I'm just marking out the key parts. For example, the jaws, and then the crossover piece. I think that's called the boss, not dead sure yet. And then the handles, they're actually known as the reins on a pair of tongs. And I'm going to have to draw those down, and that will make it a lot longer as I stretch them out. There's a lot of work in making tongs. A lot of heating and a lot of bashing. It's quite physical. This is my second pair of tongs. The first came out functional but not pretty. So these ones are going to be a real challenge. These ones are going to be slightly artistic. This is my second forging project. Don't expect anything too flash, but let's get into it and see how we go. You can see that I'm just marking out where the pivot point's going to be. I might as well commit myself to that right from the word go, and it gives me something to build around. Let's get my $35 gas forge fired up and get the steel heated. The $35 gas forge was the first project that I did in the Naked Blacksmith series, made out of junk that I had lying around the workshop, with the addition of $35 worth of valving and pipe fittings. I've done the first heat, in which I bent the jaw over by 90 degrees, and I'm now splitting the jaw into 3 so that I can have 3 claws on each jaw. I'm not deliberately dropping the stuff on the floor. This is because I haven't got a good pair of tongs yet. I should be concentrating on making tongs for flat stock so that I can hold this stuff while I'm working on it, but instead here I am faffing about with pretty things. I figure I need to up my skills as quickly as I can, so I'm making something that's just a little bit challenging. I'm going to cold chisel the ends of each jaw into 3 pieces, dropping it on the floor as little as possible. So after 3 or 4 drops on the floor, I'm at the stage where I've now got both of them split 3 ways. So what I have to do next is bend 2 of the 3 forks well out of the way so that I can work on 1 fork at a time, and I need to draw that down into a taper. It's quite a challenge for a novice blacksmith. I'm using my small hammers for the first time, which I'm really enjoying, but I do tend to spend most of my time looking at it and holding it and moving it and deciding where on the anvil I'm going to put it so that I can hit it properly. It's a big learn. It's a really big learn. So if this video has managed to attract the eyes of any accomplished blacksmiths, I'd love you to please say something in the comments below. If I'm doing this totally the wrong way, please tell me and let me know the best way of working on three separate things that are all attached to the same piece of metal, because I really this is all by the seat of my pants. I'm learning as I go, but I will really appreciate input. So get in there, make some comments, and help me make the next video way better than this one. Right, finally, that's the claws done. Now I can do the big set down that starts the drawing out of the handles. Remembering, of course, that I'm working on two handles at the same time, so having one in the forge and one on the anvil, you don't get a rest. It's just go, go, go. So while I give one a good 30 seconds worth of bashing, the other's heating up, and then I swap over, grab a slug of cold water and back into it and start the bashing again. You'll notice that the forks, the vibration of bashing it has bent all my forks out of shape again, so they will need to be straightened again. I did find myself repeatedly fixing things. First you do your moving of the metal, then you do the smoothing of the metal, and then after you've done the moving and the smoothing, then you can get into just tweaking everything and getting all the angles right and everything pointing in the right direction. Please don't treat my videos as a how-to, treat my videos as a how not to. Watch my videos and then go and watch some of the blacksmiths' videos who have been doing it for years and see the difference. I'm following them as closely as I can, but I do find that I'm still making mistakes. I've got a lot of stuff whirling around in my head of what these guys have said on their YouTube videos, but when you're faced with a hot bit of metal that's cooling down really fast and a hammer that you can't find, you start bashing randomly and mucking things up. But the great thing with metal is it takes a lot of work to stuff it up completely. You can always give it another heat and move it to where you want it. Now here's another don't do what I'm doing. You'll see that what I'm doing here is tapering it down, but I'm not twisting the reins by 90 degrees. So as I bruise the metal over, it's mushrooming over, and I'm not pushing it. I've just turned it over and I'm now starting to push it into the sides. But I should be doing this alternately. Bang, twist, bang, twist, bang, twist, and that will bring it down and in, down and in, down and in. But as it is, I'm hammering it down and down and down and down, and it mushrooms out, which leaves me with a big lump to get rid of later. So don't do this. You can see that what I'm doing now is spreading out the the toes and putting the curl in them. And then I'm going to use the crosspeen of the hammer to clean up right between the toes, where the toe jam collects. While I was hammering each of the toes into a taper individually, I found I couldn't get right in between them. So here I am doing short, sharp, hard hits with the crosspeen, trying to clean up between the toes. I've had no training on this. All I'm doing is using my experience of years of playing with metal, welding, panel beating. The experience I've got is in metal, but never in forging. I've done no forging whatsoever until this week. This, as I said earlier, is my second project. Now, during the forging, lots of wire brushing means that the scale doesn't build up, and you also blow the face of your anvil as you're hammering, because the scale flakes off, sits on the hammer, on the anvil face, and you'll be hammering it back into the steel again, which ruins your finish. So keep it clean, lots of wire brushing, lots of quick blows to get the flakes off, and then you can get everything into shape and get it all looking nice. And now I can put the holes in and we can turn this thing into a pair of log tongs. So I'm going to start off here with a tapered drift, and I'm going to punch a hole most of the way through, keeping it in contact with the metal as little as possible. So one punch, out, cool it down in the water, back in, another punch. You'll see the little bursts of flame each time I put it in. That's because I've got beeswax on there as a lubricant. Trust me, if you don't use some kind of lubricant, your tapered drift will stick in the hole and you'll end up welding it in there. So keep it oiled or greased, and you can get your thing in and out in a big hurry and get it ready. So what I'm going to do now is tweak the handles to the angle that I want them, because I want these tongs to be able to pick up every kind of log in my fireplace, from a 4 or 5 inch diameter one right down to something that's only about 1 inch. So now that I've got the handles pointing in the right direction, I cut a 5/16 8mm slug of bar, heat that up in the forge again, and then I'm going to peen it over and rivet the two together. Once I've set the rivet with a good hard smack straight down, I round around the outside, and that peens over the heads of the rivet. Then you grab the handle of the tongs with both hands and quickly work it in and out to make sure that the tongs aren't going to weld themselves shut. So one more warm up now, and that will give me the chance to set all of the toes of the claws so that they are perfectly in line with each other, and I can call the thing finished. So a little tidy up here on the toes to get them all pointing in the same direction. And now I'll wait for the redness to go out of it. Give it a wire brush, make sure that there's no flakes on it, get it all nice and clean. And once the redness out of it and it's down to what they call black hot, I will get my beeswax out again, and I'll start rubbing some beeswax into the hot steel. While the pores of the steel are open, the wax gets right in and gives it a very, very durable finish, so that these things can even be left outside without rusting. I'll start at the coolest end, do the handles first, and then as the jaws cool down, I can get a bit of the stuff onto those as well. So they're a little bit hogwarty. I know that they're not the prettiest set of tongs that you've ever seen, but all my friends that I've shown them to so far say, "Oh, they're beautiful. Oh, they're lovely. Yes. Oh, can you make me some?" So I think it just goes to show that because these things are handmade, people are prepared to overlook the fact that they're not perfect. And it's quite a buzz to have your friends tell you that you've done something that's amazing and cool. So I really do recommend that you make yourself a forge, buy a little anvil, and start making things, and be the envy of all your friends.